Hello, good evening. It's 8 p.m. in the UK. I'm Mike Russell,
I'm Isabella Russell.
and thank you for choosing us over Dermot O'Leary and the musical entertainment on ITV1 in the UK tonight. But I can guarantee you we'll be out by 9:15 in time for Downton Abbey, if you are watching and listening live.
And that is if you are watching from the UK, right?
Well, indeed, yes, exactly. So what are we here for, Isabella?
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us today. The invitation we sent out was pretty much sent only to our UK podcasters community. So to anyone who attended the UK Pod 14 and anyone who is existing member of the community. Now, we've been involved with the community for a good part of the year now, and it's actually amazing to see how that little small idea that grew from a meetup in a room in London.
On the 29th of March.
Yeah, it just
A
grew.
long time ago.
Absolutely, and it grew into first conference in August, and now we are in definite planning stages for next year as well.
That's
Exciting,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah, so the idea of this call is really to chat to you first about some of our ideas for 2015 before we go out there and promote it like hell, because we want to get your feedback, get your ideas, your thoughts. We've also got some questions lined up, and we'll be taking live Q&A as well. So if you want to ask a question and you're watching on Google Plus right now, just feel free to chip in and ask any question. Of course, if you're listening in the future, when you're listening to a recording, then you can feedback on the show notes to this episode.
It was actually amazing to get all the feedback after the UK Pod 14 and to see that one day inspired so many people to take action and to make some change, to start new podcasts. And this actually is what is giving us the fuel to actually make sure that 2015 is even bigger and better in every single possible way.
Totally, but you've got to remember, Isabella, we didn't just have people from the UK coming into Birmingham for UK podcasters, or UK Pod 14, I should say. We had people from Germany, Greece, Sweden, Ireland, France, loads of really cool people from Ireland. I don't know, it's fantastic.
Absolutely, and it really is truly amazing. And what it gave us is just this huge need really to do more, because we can see how much of a great impact it had on so many of you. So we wanted to do more. And as a full disclosure, now Mike and I are officially running a company that's called UK Podcasters Limited, which means to you that we are not going anywhere with the idea.
We're fully invested in the idea. It is a company registered with Companies House in England and Wales. So.
Absolutely. So we started to think about different ways in which the conference can actually get bigger and better next year. So we wanted to chat to you today to, well, first of all, give you the first glimpse into what the 2015 has in store for us all. And secondly, well, run really an idea we have with Mike through you, and just see what your reaction to that would be, because it is quite a radical change, and we want to make sure that obviously you, the most important person, are happy with that.
Absolutely, but our main concern here is that we continue to grow as a community, and we continue to have new ideas, innovation. We keep going forward and following the trends. That's what it's all about, Isabella. And one thing that I remember hearing time and time again during UK Pod 14 was, it's not long enough. Here's the party at the end of the day. It was Saturday night. We were all there, conference all over. All the speakers were there having drinks together. It was a lovely setting, lovely environment. We couldn't have asked for better. But everyone said, well, what about day two? Where's day two? Where's that? So what do you think about 2 days, Isabella?
Well, absolutely. And in 2015, we actually already secured a 2-day conference. We already have the date, but we will not reveal it until 23rd of October.
Oh, come on, you can't do a Tim Cook on us. Really?
Well, we will reveal a little bit more a little bit later on, but
Okay.
all
Are you
I
going
can
to say
say,
just one more thing at the end as well?
perhaps. So all I can say now is we have a 2-day conference in 2015, and not only that, we are going to have 2 tracks running at the same time. So actually, we are quadrupling Is that how you say it, Mike? Quadrupling,
Yes,
yeah.
quadrupling. It's going to be 4 times
Four
bigger.
times bigger. It's going to be 4 times bigger than the one we had this year. Now, I have, by the way, I have this long list of different.
Don't worry, because it won't be an Isabella
so
monotone here. It's not going to be an Isabella monotone. I'm going to chip in as well. I'll give you point number 2. For instance, one thing we've noticed is that podcasters love podcast awards, right? And Todd Cochran and the team have done a fantastic job in the USA with the podcast awards. But what about a UK podcast awards? What about a British podcast awards? What about that kind of thing going on? Isabella, what's your thought on that?
Well, I'm very pleased to say, and actually this is a thread that has been raised on the UK Podcasters Facebook group not that long ago.
Yes.
Where people said, what about the podcast awards? Wouldn't it be great to have something going on? I'm very pleased to say we are making it happen. So in 2015, there will be UK Podcasters Awards. How about that?
And one thing I want to say at this point, I think it's very important, it's not just for people in the UK who are podcasting, it's for people worldwide. So don't worry, you don't have to be a UK podcaster to win a podcast award.
We will make sure there are loads of different categories, although the main aim will be really to make sure we recognize talent within the UK, because there's quite a lot happening around outside of the UK, and we want to make sure that still our community of podcasters is getting recognition it deserves. But there will be categories for everyone to enter, so
Absolutely. Isabella, I don't know about you, but I'd like to think it's kind of like the Oscars or the BAFTAs, where you have those international awards as well.
Yeah, that's exactly that.
By the way, I should say at this point we've got some questions coming in that on the live stream right now. If you're watching live, obviously if you're listening in the future, you'll just hear the questions back. But we have got questions. I can see them, so thank you if you're asking. We'll get to them soon. Isabella.
Excellent. Now, we had plenty of really good informative sessions last year. Well, I keep saying last year, but it's actually a few months ago. But I'm already thinking about next year. So this year, shall I say, we had plenty of really good sessions. But one thing that came back to us as a feedback is that there were no workshops or no opportunities to really get your hands dirty, try equipment, and just try podcasting in general. So I'm very pleased to tell you that in 2015, we are going to make sure you are going to have opportunity to have workshops, to try things, to perhaps test various different environments, different microphones. We will have the venue we've chosen will have the space for us to accommodate that. So I'm very, very excited to tell you about that.
Excellent. You can go on to the next point. I'm just responding to Krishna D, who's watching live, who said that for the last 7 minutes, if you're watching on YouTube or Google+, we've had the UK Podcasters white logo and not your faces. That's probably actually a good thing. Thank you, Krishna D, for letting me know. And now I think you can see our faces flicking back and forth. So carry on, Isabella.
Mike, you had to make this.
Well, I've got to intersperse with my thoughts. Go ahead. What's the next point you've got here?
The next point is it would be great to actually have the opportunity to visit, see what other companies do, perhaps get some goodies from sponsors or relevant companies on the day. Now, we will have space for exhibitors. So in 2015, we will be able to, fingers crossed, bring some really good, relevant exhibitors to you so that they can show off their products and you can test them, most of all, because that's the most important thing, isn't it?
For those who didn't go to UK Pod 14, did we have any exhibitors?
We didn't, no. It was a fairly, it was a start. It was fairly intimate. It was just one room. We had one track of sessions. There were no exhibitors, because simply the venue really was not big enough to accommodate that. But we had a great time nonetheless.
Absolutely, yes. And I think, being podcasters, we like to try things. We like to try Heil microphones. We like to try, headphones and bits like that. So why not to have a space where that can go on, right?
Absolutely.
What about, for instance, accommodation?
Yeah. So again, this is something that came back as a feedback from you guys. So thank you very much for that. It was the fact that the hotel we hosted the conference in wasn't really 100% affordable to everyone, and obviously, it is an issue because when you attend, you want to make sure it doesn't sort of put you in any uncomfortable position, if that makes sense. Well, I'm very pleased to tell you that the venue we have chosen, so there is obviously the main venue, but literally just across the street, probably less than 20 feet away, there is a budget hotel available to book in as well. So you will have an option to book into 2 different hotels without a huge compromise on, networking opportunities and things like that.
Okay, what about sessions, Isabella? So, it's not going to be twice as big with 2 days and just a single track, but we're having 2 tracks running. So that means it's 4 times as big. What does that mean?
Well, you see, this point actually brought us into further thinking about, okay, well, if we have 4 times as many different sessions, we really need to start thinking about podcasting in a slightly different way. So we started to think, well, Mike and I, we had a little conversation and we thought, okay, so what can we do to enable every single podcaster to grow and to simply progress with what you already have, or if you haven't started, to give you the full spectrum of what is possible. So we kind of came up with this different list of things that would be applicable to potentially every podcaster.
Now, hang on here, because this list is leading somewhere, right? When we get to the end of this list, there's the kind of radical announcement that we're hoping will go down okay.
That's it. So just not to put any carrot on a string, there is some really interesting news at the end of it. So first of all, as a podcaster, you need a presence online. So you need to really know how to use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and all sorts of other networks that are really relevant to your audience. And not only to use it, but how to really leverage that to grow your own community and to enable you to share that content you're creating in the most effective way. So obviously, this is where the whole separate social media element will have its prominence during the 2015 event, because, well, you simply can't be a podcaster without an online presence. It's impossible, is it?
Exactly. No, I totally agree. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the other thing that we looked at is you, as a podcaster, you want to make sure that your website is optimized in the best possible way, but also that it's full of content. So you're looking at different keywords, etc. So
talking about search engine optimization, that's so 1999, isn't it?
But hang on, it's not really. So
you're not talking about building 1,000 backlinks, right?
No, that's not what I'm looking at. So we looked at so some podcasters who really grew out of beyond what I guess many of us would really even think of going to. So we looked at what Pat Flynn is doing, we looked at what Chris Ducker is doing, and we wanted to see, okay, what are the natural steps of progression? Well, what do they all have in common? Well, they blog as well as they podcast.
No, Isabella, I'm a podcaster, I'm not a blogger. I never will be a blogger. You'll never get me tapping out a 300-word.
And that's perfectly fine. But as a podcaster, you need to know about blogging, because actually when you get to, say, potentially a level of Pat Flynn, you may not be blogging, Mike, but you may have people who do that for you. But if you don't have the knowledge about blogging, then how can you grow where you are beyond that level? You have to take it to level up.
Absolutely.
But also, I would say you already create a blog, in a sense, by putting a show notes together. Many podcasters utilize show notes to do just that. So just
but some actually just bullet point, I spoke about this, that, and this.
No, that's fine. It's totally fine. But I still think that blogging is a very important element of what we all do. And it links to many similarities with podcasters. But I think at least having a knowledge, if you are interested, there will be 2 separate tracks. So if you are interested in blogging, this is something you could look into. But we thought that blogging would be a brilliant thing to actually bring into the table in 2015. Now, once you start the audio podcast, at some point you may start thinking, what about a video?
What you mean, kind of like what we're doing? We're doing an audio podcast. This will be an audio podcast in the future.
Yeah.
But we're not streaming live, so it's kind of weird as an audio podcaster being on video, isn't it? I need some tips. Can you help me, Izabela?
Well, I was kind of thinking about YouTube and the fact that actually we can't afford to ignore it altogether, because it's one amazing and huge platform that actually just has enormous potential. And there are people out there who utilize video to their overall content creation strategy. And shouldn't we be learning about this?
You know
Shouldn't
what I
we at
find
least know about
amazing
that?
about video, Isabella, and about YouTube in particular, is some of these like YouTubers are complete celebrities. I mean, I know I would certainly say there
Yeah.
are podcasters out there that are celebrities, that are internet famous, I would say. But with YouTube, it's like where we live on the Isle of Wight, some YouTubers came over for a day and said we're
Yeah.
going to have a meetup on Sandown Pier,
Yeah.
and suddenly the whole of Sandown was overrun with people coming out. And I was like, where are they coming from? They're all watching YouTube at home. So
It's a
it's a
very
big platform.
it's a very powerful platform. I think when it's done well, it's a very powerful platform. But we won't go into detail about that. But I will tell you that we will want to make sure to bring the video element into the event in 2015. Now, the next thing, you absolutely can't do anything without a website. As a podcaster, you need a website, and actually what we see is that many podcasters turn into platforms such as WordPress, and they tend to do things themselves. So it's just, sometimes it happens, but it actually rarely happens where you hire someone. Most of the time, it is you trying to figure out all the ins and outs of, okay, the WordPress backend, what do I type, how do I make this look like that, and what plugins to use to make my podcast sound
Can I
great.
say that I'm a big fan of WordPress? And I absolutely love. This is not an advertisement, by the way. It's just a general endorsement. I love the Genesis framework. I think that every website in the world should be built on the Genesis framework. You've proven me wrong on that recently, but
I have.
that's another discussion. So yes, I need to learn more. So WordPress and
Yeah,
web
so
creation.
we thought it would be great to actually bring some sessions that would be referring to those issues that podcasters face with regards to creation of the website, because it is such a crucial element, and you simply can't get away without it. And of course, the most important aspect of the conference in 2015 is going to be podcasting itself. What we wanted to do by sort of splitting it into different points is just to highlight how much of a complex thing it is. It's just not about sitting in front of the microphone recording, but actually it's about a whole lot more, and it's just trying to bring it in different elements together. I think it's going to be the key for 2015.
So hang on, we've got 5 points there already, Isabella, that
Yeah.
you've quite raised extremely well, I would say. Podcasting, social media, blogging, video, and WordPress or web creation or development, even you could say. That's a lot of points. This looks really great. That's plenty
Yeah,
of work
well,
then, isn't it?
absolutely. Well, it definitely has. We've got a lot of work to do. Thankfully, there is still a year to go.
So
But
where is this all going? Because I'm worried as a podcaster now listening to this that you're talking about blogging and YouTube video, and I'm focusing on making a podcast. That's what I do at the moment. I
but I
podcast
just
every single day, But I understand that a lot of those elements you did mention do come into my podcast work in one way or another, right?
I like the fact that you are being very defensive, Mike, and you are really grilling me on this.
I'm defensive of podcasting. I love it.
No, as I said a second ago, we have simply took podcasting and just split it into smaller parts. It doesn't mean our focus on podcasting is not there. It certainly is, but it just kind of like dissects podcasting into smaller elements so that you can learn more effectively and most of all grow, because that is the aim of any event we organize, is to enable you to grow. But when we looked at that list, so then we thought, okay, on that list, as you said, we've got podcasting, social media, blogging, video, WordPress, or sort of site creation, development, and we kind of thought, well, but something doesn't look quite right. We kind of thought that the conference name itself, actually, it tells the whole story about the event. It doesn't give a true representation.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you, Isabella. And so what do you think about UK Pod 15 as the name for next year's conference?
Well, that's where we have a new conference name.
Right. Oh, this is very exciting. Hang on. So UK Pod, let me just say one thing. So at UK Pod 14, it was fantastic. We had this great hashtag, right? UK Pod 14. One thing I realized is, because we all make failures, don't we? When we're doing things and we go forward and
Yeah.
we learn from them, right? UK Pod 14 was a fantastic hashtag, but one thing I realized straight after the conference is that everything's going to stay on the UK Pod 14 hashtag, and we're not still going to be using the UK Pod 14 hashtag, 10 years in the future.
That's true.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll use UK Pod to communicate with UK podcasters, right? But
Absolutely.
we need something a little broader. Maybe not only to invite podcasters in, but maybe also bloggers, video producers, web creators, perhaps even someone who's involved in podcasting and they're living in Ireland, or perhaps they're in France or Germany.
Well, part of the decision was the fact that, well, also we looked at how many different nationalities we had present at the UK Pod 14, and we thought, well, actually, there is so much more to it. So anyway, without further ado, because I think we are just rumbling into it. Well, so the idea for the new conference name is.
Are we going to say it now?
Yes.
Ready?
You say it. Go on in your super voiceover voice.
Well, we'll say it together. 1, 2, 3.
No. You say it in your super voiceover voice. Go on.
New Media Europe, ready to be heard.
Yes, ready to be heard is our tagline, because we thought actually it really, really, truly tells the story, because there is so much going on in the US and so little in Europe in general. It's not only UK, but UK is actually at the forefront of things in Europe, but Europe is even further behind. And it's actually, well, hang on, we really need to make sure we are ready to be heard, because we are ready to be heard, and we need to show the world that we are. But if anyone is wondering at this stage, hang on, I really want a podcasting conference, are you not losing some focus in here? No.
And there's a question that I think will come up later on as well.
Yeah, so we want to make sure we change the name to actually tell the whole story and give a true representation of what anyone attending the conference can expect to hear, see, learn, but also to enable the community to grow, because by changing that name to suddenly actually include people in Europe, we are going to open the doors to more people, and that's only great for the community of podcasters in general, because the aim is to grow and to have as many podcasters as possible, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it's not just about staying within our community, because of course I'm really invested in the UK podcasting community. I think there are other communities out there that would be really interesting to engage with. What about bloggers? What about, I'm sure there's great stuff going on in Berlin, in Germany, that we don't even know about yet. There's
Absolutely.
as we know, there's tons of great Irish podcasters, and we really want them to feel like they're welcome to come to this conference.
Yes.
And we kind of felt, and we had even discussions at UK Pod 14, didn't we? I remember having a particular discussion with an Irishman about this, and he actually was in support of the name UK Podcasters, but we thought about it long and hard, and we thought we need to be more all-encompassing. So.
Absolutely, and the other thing I would add to that is the fact that it's just the UK Pod, the name itself. It truly didn't give a true representation of what there is inside the event, but also I would say that by actually changing the name, we have opportunity to invite not only bloggers, but to actually show them what a great tool podcasting can be, because obviously by spreading it into a little bit of blogging in there, we are going to enable people to effectively say, oh, maybe there is something in there for me, and then through that they will discover podcasting, and that really is the aim of that. And it's the same for any business owners. They may be already blogging and they haven't even considered remotely the possibility of podcasting, and they should, because we all know it's a great tool.
Yeah. Shall we get into some questions then, some Q&A? Now, we have got some previously submitted questions. We did ask for questions via SpeakPipe, and even if you wanted to go and record a video, you could have done that as well. Also, the Q&A box, we're watching that. I'm watching that like a hawk. I can see tons of questions, so we're going to leave a little bit of time, but we must get out before Downton Abbey. I'm sure we'll do that. We'll get out way before Downton Abbey if you're watching live. If you're listening back, then just kick back, enjoy. You can ask a question in the show notes to this podcast episode in the future. But shall we get into our first question, Izabela?
Yes, let's go into it.
Okay, well, let's hear this question from Ben Adam Smith.
Hi, Mike and Izabela. It's Ben Adam Smith from House Planning Help podcast. And I wanted to ask whether UK Pod 15 is about continuing to nurture UK talent, because I was very impressed at the first conference just to see how many people are out there in the internet marketing space. Or is this really an opportunity to attract some of the big players from the States? I can't wait to hear what you've got to say on this.
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for submitting that, Ben. And actually, what I would say first of all is that UK is still very much in its infancy stages, and if it's about, if it's about embracing the new media in general compared to with what US is doing at the moment, so we certainly must recognize that, and at the same time, perhaps make it an opportunity for us to nurture the talent in the UK, because that is actually very important. And I believe that in the next couple of years, perhaps even next year, we are going to see a UK equivalent of Pat Flynn or Cliff Ravenscraft emerging from those conferences, from amongst the group of people we already perhaps have around us.
Yeah, but Izabela, the challenge we have is finding the right balance, because I was just thinking, actually, if there was a UK conference that had, say, Pat Flynn, Cliff Ravenscraft, Chris Ducker at it, I'd want to go to that conference, So it's like, where do you find the balance between, having that influence from outside the UK?
It certainly would be silly of us not to invite the stars from the US, because they have an amazing amount of knowledge, and we can learn a lot from that. They are ahead, and this is the key in here. They are ahead of the game already, but at the same time, of course, we will be looking around not only the UK but also Europe. And actually, what I would say here, it's important for us to look at it as there should be no divide between us and them.
Exactly. Well, the internet has no borders, so why should it be us and them? We're all in this together, right?
We certainly are in this together, and we should grow the culture of helping each other as opposed to compete viciously. And actually, we can all be complementers rather than competitors in this industry. And it's important that we kind of have that approach to things, because if we suddenly put a divide, we are UK, so certainly you are not welcome because you are from the US. This is not going to give the true. It's not going to give a good image for us as podcasters in the UK in general. I think, as you say, Mike, we are in this all together.
Yeah, very good. And now let's get on to the next question. And actually, we're going to answer a question that's come in from Colin Gray. He submitted it in the Q&A app, but I can see also that he's submitted a voicemail earlier on as well. So let's hear that.
Hey Mike and Izabela, Colin Gray here from Podcraft. Just want to say a quick congratulations on the last event. UK Pod 14 was absolutely brilliant, so really looking forward to the upcoming one next year. My quick question was around workshops. I thought the talks were great. There was a lot to learn from the speakers, but sometimes it's great to actually be able to do something during the day, actually take some action, learn some things, and put them into action right there and then. So I wondered whether you are planning in such a thing as a workshop or two for the next event. So look forward to hear what you say about that, and good luck with the organising.
Yes, absolutely.
We already actually answered that question earlier on, so yes, absolutely. There will be workshops, as mentioned before, and we will have opportunity to get hands dirty, really.
Absolutely, yes. So definitely workshops, practical stuff going on you can get involved with. Now, I'm a little bit concerned, Izabela, because does the name New Media Europe, or that brand or that idea or that conference, what does it mean for the UK podcasters community?
Absolutely nothing. The truth is, nothing will change. Everything will remain exactly the same for the UK podcasters community, so nothing changes on that front. It's just purely the name of the conference that changes, but the community remains exactly where it is, and exactly how it is. So that's just the same. And actually, even though the conference will be called the New Media Europe, it will be created by UK podcasters. So UK podcasters are going to be the creators of the conference. So nothing changes, absolutely nothing.
Okay, so what are the reasons then for the name change? I think we've gone over them, but just give me a good idea of why that is the case.
Well, we've gone over quite a lot of different reasons, but I think there is one more to really mention that is relevant to everyone who is attending event, or who already has attended in the past. And the simple answer is sponsors. Last year we actually had sponsors from all the different continents, not even countries in Europe, but continents.
Let's go through them. Spreaker is based in Germany. Adobe are based in the state of Washington, aren't they, in the USA?
US, yeah.
And 99 Designs, who we absolutely love, by the way, and I can see Niall is in the questions and answers. So 99 Designs, in fact, I'll just pick his question up now and pop it in the Q&A highlight box. So that's Niall from 99 Designs. They're based, originally from Australia, aren't they?
And Skype is a US owned company. But by changing the name, we would like to give a bigger and better picture to any potential sponsors, because sponsors mean a lot to you as someone attending, because that means more drinks on the day, evening parties, goodies, giveaways, and they do enhance your experience. And what they also mean is they keep the ticket prices affordable level. So it is very important for us to take that into account. We can't certainly ignore that. We need to make sure we enable the event to grow in many different directions.
Okay, let's have another question, and this one was pre-submitted by Alison. Will there still be a large amount of podcasting-focused sessions at New Media Europe 2015? That's Alison Colley from Real Employment Law.
Certainly, yes, and as we said earlier on, there will be 2 tracks running at the same time, and we will want to make sure that at any session we will select will actually be relevant to podcasters. But specifically, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of actual podcasting, we will want to make sure that there's at least one session opportunity for you to learn something at the time at any time during the day. So there will not be a possibility of you actually standing there and thinking, I'm a podcaster and there's nothing for me there. No, this is not going to happen. It's, as I said earlier on, we are not dividing the conference into different topics and to sort of make it for different people. It's just going to be and sort of dividing the topics of actual podcasting further, but it's still going to be relevant to you as a podcaster.
I think the one thing you can definitely take faith in is that the genesis of New Media Europe was always out of podcasting. That's how it started. Those are the roots of New Media Europe 2015. So it all started from podcasting, right?
Well, it's created by UK podcasters. It can't change. I mean, this is just the fact.
All right, before we get out of here, because we do respect your time, and thank you very much for watching or for listening for this long, for just over half an hour now. So what we'll do is we'll get through, if it's okay with you, Izabela, we'll get through some of the Q&A that we've got here from live viewers and see how many questions we can answer. So just quickly, we'll go through the first couple here. I can see Grand Ambition in that title, New Media Europe, kudos, that's Colin Gray. We've also had Catherine Bryant saying, New Media Europe, I like it. And she's also gone on to ask this, and this is an interesting one. This is down to you, Izabela. You two are a tease. Can you at least give it the month of next year's conference, please? Tonight, or the 23rd of October, you Tim Cook.
Absolutely. Okay, shall I give it away, Mike?
Yeah, we can give the month away.
Okay, well, it's going to be September 2015.
September, and I think there's going to be more questions about the timing of the conference, so we'll get into them. Let's have a look at more of these questions. We're going to rifle through them now. Very excited to hear the news about the 2015 conference, says Dave Lee. Dave Lee is part of National Podcasting Day. We really enjoyed that, Dave. Krishna Panika from Skype has said it would be a great opportunity for some newbies to launch some new podcasts before or at New Media Europe 2. Oh, what's your thought on that, Izabela? Launching podcasts, taking action, getting things done before the conference. Because, sorry, I was going to ask you your opinion, but I've got an opinion. Go on, you go. I'll give an opinion around it.
I think the question was about being able to launch it during the event, and I think that's perhaps where those technical stations, workshops will come to play, because you will be able to actually just take action, say actually I can I've got something to talk about, I'm going to record it there and then. I mean, we haven't got the details of it, but this is certainly an interesting idea, and I think it would be important for us to explore it further.
Okay, and here's my thought. Launching a podcast before you go to New Media Europe 2015 is an exciting idea, and the reason for this is I've seen so much good feedback from podcasters who say, I went to UK Pod 14, the original conference, and came back from that, and I've just had so many more listeners, so much more interaction, benefits even in a few iTunes reviews from people you've met. That's great, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the other thing I would say is actually launching it before the event would be even better, because what then happens when you meet people, when you network with people, you can then say, actually, I already run a podcast. You can check it out here. So, it kind of puts you in a slightly different light, and I think enables you to do a little bit more of a relevant networking. But certainly, there will be people who will want to learn about it before they go and dive in. And that's fine too.
Okay, we're going to do our best to get to the end of the Q&A before we go, so there's not many questions really left, so we'll just rifle through. And here's one from Ewan, who says, it would be interesting to hear from some of the academics who are writing about podcasting and audio and its place in media. A bit geeky, but interesting for practitioners. Oh, what do you think of that,
That
Izabela?
is very interesting. We can certainly explore that as an option, and have a look into that. It certainly is interesting. I haven't actually heard enough from academia about podcasting to have a great amount of
I know
knowledge.
that universities have podcasts. Think about Oxford University. They have really popular
They
podcasts.
certainly
The
do.
Open University as well, I'm sure.
They certainly do, and I'm sure they will have an opinion about podcasting. But one thing I would say about that is that podcasting is such a new medium. It just genuinely is born in front of our eyes. I think that, there are people who are very knowledgeable about that, but I don't think there is enough material for someone to really, truly embrace it in the academic way.
You can tell it's live, can't you? Well, we'll look at that, and obviously the best thing is we've got just under a year to plan, which is good. So thank you, Ewan. Now I am answering or putting these questions through now in the order that Google Plus is showing them. So I'm not giving any favoritism. I'm just literally going through next. So this one's from Krishna, and it says, any chance we'll have a track on ways to deliver engaging content? Izabela.
Absolutely.
That's a big point, isn't it?
That's absolutely yes. And one thing I would say, there are quite a lot of questions about the actual sessions to be seen. And one thing I would say is that we will have 4 times as many sessions as we did have this year. It gives us enormous opportunity to genuinely open up the space for speakers. But what we will want to make sure is we select topics that really complement each other's. So we will not want to, we will want to make sure we don't have sessions on the same thing running throughout the day. We will want a lot of diversity, because the whole idea of this is for you to learn as much as possible. Obviously, yeah. So.
Colin Gray's got back, actually, I think, on the academia point, and he says iTunes U, good to cover. And actually, I have been a user of iTunes U, so I know what it is, but some people might be, iTunes what? So that's the educational part of the Apple iTunes store, basically.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Anyway, let's rifle on. And we've got Kevin Cox in the chat from Bristol, and he says, any idea of speakers this time? Dave Jackson, perhaps. I love Dave Jackson. He's fantastic.
He certainly
Great
is.
suggestion.
Do you know? I really don't. I can't spill too much beans. But
what do you mean? Are there any beans in the can yet?
There are beans in the can. We will have some really exciting announcements on the 23rd of October. So,
and we're hoping to get more beans in the can.
There will be more beans in the can by then, but you certainly need to make sure you are tuned in on 23rd of October.
What a way to describe the speakers. I'm not sure speakers and people involved in New Media Europe 2015 want to be referred to as a bean, unless it's a typical British colloquialism and go, oh, well, bean, yes, good to have you involved.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyway, Colin Gray has said, do you know when the call for speakers will be released at the moment? 23rd of October.
That's exactly when it will be, yeah. So, anyway,
get that date in your diary.
Yeah, certainly.
Yep. Let's get on to the next. Wow, we're rifling through now.
Okay. Yeah.
So Craig's been in touch, and he says, I've been promoting podcasting at the British Council in Spain for language learning with great results. I think that's just a comment rather than a question, but like I say, we're reading them all out. Here's one actually that's come in from the chat I can see as well, so I'll mention that because it's an easy, straightforward one to answer. Have you a new hashtag for the conference? It says Krishna D.
Yes, we do. It's hashtag NMEU.
Exactly. Hashtag
NMEU.
NMEU. And if you want, while you're watching this now, you can just hop over to Twitter and tweet something out with the hashtag NMEU. And the reason we haven't put a 1.5 at the end, or a 1.6 or a 1.4 at the end,
we want it timeless.
We want the conversation timeless. So the idea is you can start using this hashtag now, and you can use it all the way through until 2015.
Yes.
When the conference ends, you can feel free to keep using that hashtag. So it is eternal. And we thought, why do we need to use a number at the end? Because Twitter actually records when the tweet was made, so we'll all know if the tweet was made in 2015, it related to 2015. So, right, let's get on to Super Cabby, and here's a long comment that's come in. You should announce the date ASAP so that people can make arrangements to come. Many people start to book their holidays at this time of year, and so the longer you leave it, the more chance of people not being available to come along. Oh, good question, good.
It is. That's why we are making sure that you will have all the details available to you in just 11 days from now, 23rd of October. You will have all the details you need to know in order to book. The reason we are not giving it away just yet, we are making final preparations now. We are at the final stages of making all the arrangements, and we certainly just don't want to make an announcement just to then need to make changes. So we just want everything to be fully there and fully finalized, so that we are very comfortable with sharing that. But I mean, at the moment it's looking like 99% it's there, but you just never know. There are those little things that come up out of your control. So we just want to make sure that we can with full confidence give you the date. But I can confirm on the 23rd of October you will know not only the date, you will know also the place. You will be able to actually start looking at some speakers that we will have lined up and announce, and
you can look into accommodation. You can look in what to do and everything. It's all going to be revealed. So that's
absolutely
what Izabela say. Joseph here has got in touch and said, "I might be able to help you, Izabela, with that. I'm an academic." So there you go. That's
fantastic,
more than a question. But again, I'm so glad this is recorded as an audio podcast, because you and I are going to be listening back to this a few times, so we can hear your comments again and make
absolutely.
sure that we take action.
Please get in touch with me, because I would love to. I would actually love to take it further. So if you could get in touch with me afterwards, that would be lovely.
Still got a few more to get through, so let's do these. We've got Krishna here, Krishna D. I think it is about how you define success. This is commenting back on now the US and the UK podcasters and the European podcasters and all of that. So Krishna is saying the US podcasters may define success in dollars, but let's not forget people like Neville Hobson, who we know he's come to a UK podcasters meetup, very good podcaster in the UK, with co-host Shell Holtz, have a successful podcast which is approaching 10 years of broadcasting. Couldn't agree more. It's interesting. Do you define success in terms of dollars or just the content you're producing?
I think that's
it's not a conversation for now, but it's a good question.
It is a good question, and I think that it really will depend. Everyone will have their own personal goals and aspirations, and they will want to make sure to be successful in their own way, in their niche. The only way we can look at it from the point of view of organizers is truly from the point of view of the following, the monetary success as well as the just a genuine feedback from people who watch that person or view that person. I think this is the only way we can measure it. Obviously, everyone individually will be able to measure their own success on multiple different levels, but it's impossible for us to get into that really into detail, because it just will vary from one person to another.
Okay, more of those questions before we get out of here. We got Josephia saying, no question, just love the name and strapline. Dave Lee also says New Media Europe, great name. Chris has come in saying there are plenty of new media type conferences, etc. IMO, in my opinion.
Well, they are, but I don't think there are any really specifically in the UK. I mean, there are quite a lot in the US, and I don't think there is any new media conference with that podcasting slant around where we are. So, and
I'd say there probably are, and I think that's great. I think every conference has its own flavour as well. So, I know there's conferences that we want to go to and we've been to already in Europe that are fantastic, and they have a new media flavour. But every different conference has has its own thing going on. So
Yeah,
there's
they
always
will.
space for more, right?
Absolutely. And, as long as obviously the speakers don't come on the same conferences every single time, then you will always learn something new. So.
Totally, absolutely. Let's look at Jason Williams, who has said it would be great to build the social networking in UK and Europe. We mainly work in isolation, so building on what's available right now would be valuable. So it's just, again, a case of getting people together at a conference in September 2015 called New Media Europe. Ewan has said it would be interesting to hear about the value of audio in SEO. Video is well known about. Of course, we know that creating YouTube videos is fantastic for your SEO, but audio not so much, and I think it's still undiscovered at the moment. Maybe I'll chip in on this one, because audio is still very hard to SEO, isn't it? Because you have to actually know what they're saying. Well, do you get it transcribed, and then does Google pick up on that? Or, SoundCloud are doing great things, Spreaker are doing great things, there's Audio Boom in the UK as well, all trying to do great things with audio. But it's a race at the moment. The race is on. Who's going to win? It's a question with SEO of audio.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's an interesting thought, certainly.
Had a link from Chris, who says he's a bit confused, and he's put a link there, so we'll check that out later on. But yeah, and then another one from Chris as well. How do you track your downloads per episode? I have to go to my server stats and then manually check the logs for each download, which is a bit tedious. That's more of a sort of podcasting question, isn't it?
It is more of a podcasting question, and I'm sorry, but I don't think we should go into detail.
I know. Yeah, I'm answering. I'm literally giving every question a bit of airtime. So, but yes, maybe we'll. I guess the best place, Chris, if you're not already there, is to head into the UK Podcasters Facebook group.
That's it, and I'm sure. Well, we will be happy to chip in and give the answer on that.
Otherwise we go off topic.
Yes.
And then we've got Jonathan Downham, who said, "I find it difficult to attend, or I did find it difficult to attend last year's conference as it was in the school holidays." Izabela.
And this is not going to be the case this year. So we deliberately made sure that the date we choose is outside of the school holiday period.
So you're sure the first incy bit of September then isn't going to be where it lands? Okay, all right.
No,
okay.
So you know this much now. So it's definitely not school holidays.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, we got Jonathan here who has said, when will the 2015 conference be held? That's the question. And if it will be held outside of London, what are the reasons for choosing the location? Now, I think all of those answers will be here on the 23rd of October, right?
They certainly will, yes. They certainly will.
All right, we've got two more questions and we'll finish up. So again, Ewan's in and he says it would be great to have a fringe tech section of the con akin to TechCon at RadFest. What do you think? Yes, now I can comment on this a little bit because I've been to RadFest, or the Radio Festival, which happens regularly at Media City UK, Salford Quays in Manchester, and they do have a kind of split out kind of whole section for technical parts of the radio industry. So I kind of like where he's going with that, but I think podcasting in general is pretty technical, isn't it? So we'd have to think of how that might work, but it's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
And Craig Wheeland has said, what about Brits living and podcasting in Spain? I think we probably answered that with the announcement of the conference.
I think we did. But Mike, you said earlier on there was a question from Niall, and you marked it somewhere, but I don't think you ever read it.
No, the question was simply, I marked it and I put it up in the Q&A. The question was simply a statement saying, we love UK podcasters, we love you guys, and we'll be sure to have lots of goodies for you at New Media Europe 2015.
You didn't say it. You see, you didn't say it earlier on.
Well, now I've said it, so there you go. And just those are all the questions finished now in the Q&A section.
Hang on, because for anyone who doesn't know, Niall is actually from 99 Designs.
I said that.
You didn't.
Listen back to the podcast, you'll hear. So, all right, just before we go, Christine has said, Christine is from researchpodcast.co.uk. Can you tell us more about the awards idea briefly, Izabela? Just a little few more juicy details on a podcast award.
It's still very much in its infancy stages, so that we have still a lot of planning to do, and a lot of decisions to be made. So I really wouldn't be comfortable in telling you anymore, because I don't want to give you false information. It can still change. We will want to make sure that the whole idea will launch probably 6-8 months before the conference date itself, so that obviously there's plenty of time for all the podcasters to take action and to know what they are prepared for, what to be prepared for, shall I say. But Certainly, we will want to make sure it's a grand event because it deserves to be grand. You know, podcasters deserve to have some form of recognition. And I think that there used to be podcasting awards, European podcasting
Yes,
awards,
they did. Yes.
but it ceased to exist. So it's no longer there. So you know, there is nothing at the moment in Europe to recognise podcasters, and it's a huge shame. And we want to make sure to actually change that. Because there are podcasters out there who deserve to be recognized.
Absolutely. Krishna Day has just corrected me, by the way. That's her name, Krishna Day. So I just wanted to get that in before the end. We're going to go now. It's going to be a nice 50-minute episode in audio form. But I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's been watching the live stream. And I can see from the figures that we've had a significant amount of people watching and being involved tonight as we've been broadcasting live. And we really do appreciate it because you are the guys that are pushing us forward, that are really there helping us to get this done. So any way that you can help us between now and September 2015 would be most appreciated, wouldn't it, Izabela?
It certainly would be, and I will also add that we will post this not only obviously to be watched after, but also it will be available as the podcast. And anyone who will be listening to it after the event, if you have any thoughts, concerns, just contact us. You know, just simply contact us and let us know, because if we don't hear from you, we can never correct it, and that's the key in here. We do want to actively listen. So there is one place to get in touch, and that is newmediaeurope.com.
That's it. Go to newmediaeurope.com now. Put your name and email in there, and then you'll get some nice share buttons once you click notify me. And then if you could click a few of the share buttons and just spread the word, that would be much appreciated. So newmediaeurope.com is the place you need to go. Where is that place, Izabela?
newmediaeurope.com. That's where you need to go. And also, if you would like to watch the announcement, the big revelation of the event on the 23rd of October,
details will be sent to you if you put your email in
yeah.
right there. So see you later, guys, and newmediaeurope.com.
Yes. And to end